Hello, Erica.
Hello, Alex.
Are you excited for our full moon in Aquarius reading today?
I am. I'm super excited. I think that this forecast will be one that will give tremendous guidance and wisdom. So I'm definitely ready for our prescription.
Me too. I didn't do this on purpose, but I'm dressed basically like the most Aquarian ever. So for those who are not watching and are listening, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt. It's not a male shirt. It's from Rent the Runway. I actually don't know the brand. It's male-like. So it's big, light. It's kind of Golden Girls-esque. I'm wearing aviators, and my hair is still a little damp. So I don't give a what, just like an Aquarius.
And freedom.
So Aquarians freedom is the perfect word. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose.
Right.
And do we not feel like that right now? I mean, what else could possibly happen that we're not prepared for? Truly.
This is the time of change and never knowing what to anticipate.
Absolutely. So the Aquarius full moon will be in conjunction with, or will be opposite the Leo sun. And that's all about Leo and Aquarians. If you put just those two signs together, and there's some other aspects too, it's all about, they both love to be individuals. They both love to be on a stage, but in a different capacity. So an Aquarian's going to be dressed kind of like in an irreverent way, or strike up a conversation that might be somewhat controversial, but like they always can argue their points so well. I have quite a few Aquarians in my life, but one of my best friends is an Aquarius, and she is my favorite person to talk about like politics with, or really any, like, we can just get into these conversations, we get lost in them, and it's awesome. She always has a really cool, like 10,000 foot view. So that's how the Aquarians individuate themselves. And then a Leo, I think we all probably have some cliches around the Leo persona, but they're the center of the ring, Britney Spears circus. They're the ringleader and they're the lion. They run the show. We can't take our eyes off of them sometimes. J-Lo is a perfect example of a Leo sun that she's perfect. I mean, she's just perfect, period. And then
right.
Perfect Leo. So we have this individuation going on with that aspect, but it's in a T-square to Uranus and Taurus. And so Uranus actually rules Aquarius, but Uranus and Taurus is another fixed sign. So Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus are the three fixed signs we have of the zodiac. And just to quickly back up, there's fixed, mutable, and cardinal signs. And there's, obviously 12 signs in the zodiac. So these are all in fixed signs, and they're all very resistant to change. So whereas an Aquarius might normally be cool with change, they can sort of see it coming. Again, they can look at things from a 10,000 foot view. In this case, they are, with these other fixed signs, they're resistant to that freedom. So they're not able to break free the way that they would like to. They're not able to really be the air sign individuator that they want to be. They're grounded more in really the earth sign of Taurus. And then the Leo sun is really, the sun, everything revolves around that, but it's, in order to move things forward, you can't have that revolving around one particular area. So it ends up being a little bit contentious. And we had this with our new moon a couple weeks ago too. We were wanting to manifest and we want to be like sunshine and rainbows. Couldn't do that because we had the opposition to Capricorn, which was a little bit of a buzzkill. We talked about inner child work. Not a buzzkill, but it's like certainly heavier. And this one is too. So we're really not out of the woods when it comes to these aspects. But it does teach us that change is inevitable, and big radical change is happening this entire year. So if you've been feeling change coming and you really want a revolution, I always get like, I was listening to the Aquarius podcast that Shawnee Nicholas puts out every month. And the first 3 songs were like all about the system is fraud, revolution. Rhythm Nation came on, and I was like, yes, like, it's just incredible. Revolution, change. This is what we're all kind of talking about and hoping for and wanting, but not all of us, right? Some of us are really resistant. I think this is a generational difference that we see as well. So whereas I would say the millennials, kind of the bridge, the Gen Z is the first one out the gate. They are hacking down the trees. They are they are the first one on the island, let's say, of this change, this revolution. The millennials are the ones that are bridging the gap. We're saying, okay, well, we kind of need this, these other generations as well. We need their money. We need their resources.
Totally.
So how do we speak the same language? We're sort of in the middle as millennials. And I'm saying that as, Erica and I, obviously, we know many generations, hopefully many generations to come will listen to this podcast, but you know what I'm saying? So there's this move, hold pattern happening. But what's hopeful about this too is that the Aquarian era, the age of Aquarius, is coming as soon as all of the we've started it this year, but as soon as all the planets move out of Capricorn, which they've been in for the last 200 something years, we'll be in all air signs for the next 200 years. So this is ushering in a pretty different era, very much the 10,000 foot view, like I've said, 3 times now. Air signs are technology driven. The good of an Aquarian is thinking about the good of humanity. They're the water bearers. They're taking the water from the lake or whatever body, bringing it back to the society, and doing that over again. That's their job. So they get confused with water signs sometimes because it's the water bearer is their archetype, and their tarot card is the star, which is a beautiful scene of the water bearer, and it brings about hopeful change and again, revolution. So that's what's happening astrologically.
Okay. And Alex, just for clarity, when it comes to this concept of the age of Aquarius, if you can sum it up in one sentence as to what that really is and what that means, what would it be?
I would say
or multiple sentences.
Yeah. You're asking the wrong gal for just I would say connectivity through technology, community in a much larger sense, humanitarianism.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Freedom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I ask because I was always confused about that concept, or just what that phrase meant in general. So I'm happy to know that whatever age and era that we're moving into is actually something that's positive.
Hippie free love, that songs like Age of Aquarius back in the 70s. Yeah,
that's awesome. It's gonna be a great time.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a great time.
There's some detriments to that as well. If everything's free, it's very different than what we're used to, especially in a capitalist society, especially in the US. So we're here for it, but it's not gonna be easy for everyone.
For sure. So with that, I'm now going to allow the tarot cards to fall. And just so everyone knows that I'm using the golden tarot deck, which is one of my favorite. You can see flashes of gold in the card. Absolutely gorgeous. Literally my favorite. And let's see what falls during this particular full moon. So the first card that revealed itself is actually the Devil reversed, which is interesting. The second card that we are allowing to fall is the Ace of Pentacles. And the third card that we will use during this reading shall be the Hierophant. So Interesting. So what I will say is now that we are in an age of change and transformation and freedom, when I see the devil reverse, I look at it as a card of freedom, right? Because typically when the card is upright, it speaks to fear. It speaks to the things that are binding us or bounding us to whatever our lower vibrational self or lower vibrational energy is feeding on, right? So that could be some form of addiction. That can be a really terrible habit. That can be a person. It can be so many different things, but there's something in each and every one of our lives, no matter how transformational and mastery filled you are, that is a bad habit, right? So if we identify what that is and understand that this might be a time for us to release it, a time for us to commit to becoming more, let's say, refined, even in our freedom, the devil reverse shows himself or herself to let us know that um, that air of release, it's necessary and it's time, because it's whatever we don't allow to leave during this time of transformation is only going to stay with us, but it's going to hurt us, right? The devil is not, when we think of this concept of the devil, it's that's not necessarily someone that you want to invite into your home. It's not necessarily someone that you want to sleep in the bed with, right? It's not a friend that you want to have. So, with that being true, we have to release this energy. We have to let those things go, those people go, because it's only going to keep us stuck. And as we move into this new era, we can't have anything binding us to the ground, because essentially this new time is our chance to fly. And even with the Aquarian air like energy, we literally can flap our wings and fly and glide across the sky, but you cannot do that if you are bound to earthly behaviors and earthly things. Okay.
So true.
So the second card that I look at is the Hierophant. And typically the Hierophant talks to this idea of traditional religious or spiritual values. So even moving into this new time, this new season, this new full moon, I would advise you that however you connect to your idea of the universe or the creator, or just let's say a word that speaks to your soul from affirmation, this is the time to really become grounded within it, right? So let's say I'm a person that just generally believes in the idea of kindness and love. This is your time to show kindness and love to every single person. If you are an individual who desires to be amongst the trees, this is your time to go into the forest, tap and touch those trees and kiss those trees and hug them to become one. Or if you are more religiously inclined, it is your time to go to whatever your doctrines are or your religious texts to really immerse yourself within your tradition, because that's necessary as we move forward. If you don't know what you're grounded in from a spiritual, religious, and affirmation filled perspective, how are you going to know where you're going? How do you tap into that air of faith and trust and just overall guidance, right? Like you need something to believe in. You need, especially as we go through this time of transformation, you're going to need faith, and that faith has to come from somewhere. So let that faith and let that release and new season guide you with whatever your notion of higher self, higher power, creator is. Okay. And then the last card that we see is the Ace of Pentacles. And I look at this card as fertile reward, right? There's an opportunity that can be masked as wealth. It can look like money. It can look like access, right? Maybe you have an access to a group of people that you never had the ability to connect to before. Let's say, a lot of money falls into your lap, a lot of opportunity there, you receive a new job. This is also a season and a time where I know a friend specifically, actually, let me share this story, who recently received $6,000 out of the clear blue sky.
Ooh.
Out of the clear blue sky, received $6,000.
Now, what's their name and where do they?
So I won't share that because I don't want everyone knocking at her door. But just know that like this is that time where like actually like it's almost as if like money, access, opportunity can be falling from the sky. But just know that you have to position yourself to be in that environment to catch it and to receive it, right? So if you are in a place where if you have not decided to apply for a new job, if you have not decided to connect with that person from the past, like this, that you won't receive those things. So it requires some kind of effort, right? It requires this idea of putting forth something to receive something. But just know that if you are focused and if you are making the diligent changes that you should be during this time, if you are releasing notions of bad habits and addiction, and if you are fully immersing yourself in faith and in trust and relinquishing control, this is a really great time for you to receive different forms of abundance and prosperity. And to literally receive the handout that you've been looking for, or maybe that you even have not been looking for from your source, whatever that source may be. But just know that that requires positivity, it requires relinquishing, it requires freedom, and freedom in a way that we've never seen it before.
I love that. What I think is really interesting is the devil reverse also has a connection to Capricorn.
Okay.
And we're moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. So I'm not surprised that that card came through. And moving past these earthly desires or addictions or greed. I think of greed a lot of time because of and Capricorns are lovely people as well. They're just success oriented, and the Capricorn societal structures has been what all we've known, which is capitalist. So, I don't necessarily want to get political. We're being very airy. We're being very Aquarian with the way that we're talking about this. We're just talking about hypotheticals. Kidding.
Great hypotheticals, but
hypotheticals. Great hypotheticals. So that's so interesting. We're basically rejecting the societal structures as we know them. With the Hierophant, we have Uranus and Taurus, and the Hierophant is connected with the Taurian energy. Where do your loyalties lie? What do you adhere to as a value structure? I think you said that beautifully. It's also a way in which we can make it through periods of intense change. I know you and I would be really lost without our spiritual practices.
Literally, I had to go hiking yesterday just to get my mind together for the recording of this podcast. So completely.
I know you hugged more than a tree.
Not only hugged, I kissed that tree.
Devoured the tree.
I did. It was great.
That's awesome. Taking free love to like a whole, that's like hugging a tree, taking it to a whole nother level. I love it. Personally, I think you're embodying very well. I think you'll be just fine this evening. And then the Ace of Pentacles with the access level, I think that's what's interesting about this as well. So if we're reversing the capitalist structure of which many people or few people have access to much, and we're flipping that in this age of Aquarius, that makes me really hopeful. It means that, of course, some people will lose, right, just a few, and many people will gain. So if we're being predictive about this, I think it's probably 2021. We just are being realistic about this, and when Capricorn energy actually really does leave us for good. But how amazing would that be?
Right.
We could.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. Right. We have a very interesting opportunity here to see, and I think it's funny as millennials too. I always think about like we didn't have cell phones until we were I didn't have one until high school. I was in 9th grade. I had like a Nokia, like you could change the plate, and that was like the cool thing about it. But you had to like text hitting one, yeah, crazy. Yeah. And then we saw technology kind of change literally in our hands. Now we have computers in our hands. And so we're able to very clearly think about when we had a house phone and we all used the same house phone, and if it was busy, you couldn't get on the internet. And to now where it's like, God, if my internet just cuts out for like 2 seconds, I have so many things running, like it disrupts my day. It's crazy to think about the dichotomy, which of course over time you get used to. But wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually see the structures of society be completely different in our lifetime?
Sure. Just one thing to add really quickly. I decided to look at the card at the bottom of the deck, and it's the Death card, which I think is just like the last sound, that last, drum for this moment. And one thing that I always think about, I read this in a tarot book when I was instructed to by the Hierophant to understand the traditions of tarot. It had this beautiful chapter about change is the catalyst to progress. If things don't die, old habits, old structures, old notions of what is correct, what is right, what is wrong, what is moral stay fixed. And can you imagine what life would be like if we had the rules and laws of, let's say just 50 years ago, what life would look like? We might not even be doing this podcast. Rather, we would not be doing this podcast together because we could not. In certain places, it would be against the law. So the beautiful aspect of death is that with death comes new energy, a new time. And the reality is some things have to wither off for the greater good of ourselves and society.
I love the Death card. I think tarot readers get excited with the Death card, and every other client gets scared initially. So we have to sort of explain what it means and how lovely and beautiful a transformation can be. But and the candle that I brought up today, and I didn't light it yet, is the Death transformation.
That is gorgeous.
It's really pretty, right?
That is absolutely gorgeous.
The scary thing about death is that it's the unknown. And I just think about change and resisting change. We're talking about these fixed signs, like digging your heels in. How much worse does it make the transition if you just literally won't let go? And death in a literal and figurative sense is literally letting go to release. And I think probably most people on their last breath, or most living beings that have consciousness, don't want to let go necessarily because they don't know what will happen. It's the end of life as we know it, literally. It's very, very symbolic, this reading, considering what's going on. It makes me really hopeful. But if you're struggling with change and you are literally shaking in anticipation of this moment, what would you prescribe we do?
So I would suggest, anytime that I've dealt with grand change, I've always found comfort being near an element, right? And for me specifically, that element is ocean water. There's nothing like a trip to the beach for me. It is literally my happiest and most favorite place on this planet. And the ocean, or just any kind of fresh water, lake, river, whatever you choose to desire, it really, going inside of the water is, you're bathing yourself. You're not, yes, you are playing and you are feeling the really cool energy of the water, but you're actually allowing yourself to feel the essence of renewed energy. You're calling in that newness into your life. You are literally allowing Mother Nature to bathe you in all of her love and all of that essence. And I know last new moon, we talked about this idea of the parent. We talked about this idea of having that paternal or maternal energy come into your life for the sake of guidance, and also to heal parts of us from a childlike place that still need assistance. So I would say, allow yourself to connect to the mother energy and the mother essence through some kind of a bath. right? And for other people, it can even be a smoke bath, right? That's for those who are more airy. Having, let's say, Palo Santo or some kind of like herbal energy clearing essence that you prefer. Bathe yourself in the smoke. If you like water, bathe yourself in the energy of the water. And if you like fire, I mean, don't put it on your skin, Avi. Like, that's not the idea of any of this. But you can also have a way of, this figurative concept of walking through the fire to be renewed, right? So there is a call to connect to some kind of element, and an element that you choose to really cleanse yourself and bathe yourself and let go of the old so you can fully walk into the new you and the new time and the new era, because it's important. We cannot survive without this cleansing.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. There's 3 different elements here. You mentioned really all of them: earth, fire, and air. I also thought of, what blends all 3 is there's this spray I have. It's eucalyptus spray, and you put it right in the shower.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like it's like a steam room. Mm-hmm. And that's eucalyptus, that's earth, that's water with the shower, and that's fire with the heat and the steam. So that could be a cool way to blend the elements if you're looking for something to do and the water is not, like the fresh water is not available to you. Cool. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm actually planning to go to the beach this weekend.
Oh, perfect.
So I will definitely be heeding our wisdom and cleansing myself very soon.
I'm going to be in a pool at my family's house upstate. And chlorine could be seen as some sort of element. It's not a fresh water, but it's not dirty.
Right. Very clean, actually.
Very clean. Dry as hell coming out of that. Okay, great. Well, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. We would be so eternally grateful. We will see you next week for a evergreen episode. We're so excited. We're going to leave that there. So just hit her in anticipation. And then again for the new moon the week after.
Definitely. And don't forget to send any questions that you have. Please email us at priestessesprescribe@gmail.com. Send us your questions. We want to hear from you. We are doing this for you, and any advice we can offer, we are super grateful to do so.
Beautifully said. Have a great full moon, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye.